What I wanted to start out talking about is I made a post on Christian Writers newsletter for Christian Writer this morning about promotion. So it's a last in a series. I think I'll actually next week talk about publishing, but it's a last in the series I've been doing on a way of thinking about putting a book together. You guys, if you've read my book or been in this course for very long, you know I like to work on the hero's journey model. But I just was just writing about another way to go about it, just a five-step process, and the fifth step being mark or promotion and publishing and promotion. And this idea that's been coming up a lot lately makes me very uncomfortable, but is worth wrestling with. And that is the idea of status. Somebody that's a marketing guru, and you might have seen me mention him a few times in my writing, is a guy named Seth Godin. And he points out in a book called Purple Cow, which is about being remarkable, is that anything remarkable is something that people remark on. You know, it's got to be something that people want to go talk to other people about. And according to him, and he's not coming from a Christian perspective necessarily, but everything in that world has to do with status. I mean, have you heard of the term, the phrase virtue signaling? Usually it's derogatory and we say somebody else is doing it if we don't like what they're saying on social media. You're just virtue signaling. And sometimes if we're saying that, we're also virtue signaling to our side, to make sure that the people that we agree with and that we want to agree with us, they know where we stand and they know that we're with them. And that has a lot to do with understanding our place in society. And obviously, it can be a terrible thing. I grew up in Texas, in a small town that that the only thing that really mattered was football and like how well you played football. And I was a basketball player, and people in Illinois, they don't understand when I say that did not make me cool. That made me president of the B crowd or something, maybe the vice president. But it was about status, and the whole thing was about pecking order. And it's kind of the typical high school trope of, there's the jocks and the cheerleaders and all the way down. And so um, that being how society works, then that is how marketing works. It's if somebody tells other people about your book, they 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 are telling the people who are like them and read books like them that I read this book and you should read this book too. It's and it's going to have some element of building that connection with their group, the group of people that they admire so much that they want to impress. Now, we're just so accustomed as Christians to thinking this is a horrible thing, but I want to impress you guys. Like when I'm talking, I don't want to leave this meeting and think that you guys thought that I did a bad job because I admire you. You are the people that I want to think well of me. And and so, what I'm saying is in part, I'm hoping that it's going to elevate my status in your eyes. And if you go and you tell somebody else, according to Seth Godin, and I think he's probably right, at least to some degree, it's because it feels good to you to be associated with whoever you're talking about, like whoever you're out there telling people about. It in some ways makes you feel a certain way about yourself. And that is just, it's so much how it is that I don't know yet. I haven't been able to figure out yet how much of that is purely sinful and how much of that is the way we're wired as societal communal beings, that sin then taints and makes it like everything else it does, gets it dirty and messes it up. We think about social media as being driven by this, where people are posting their curated best selves to get likes from the people that they want to get likes from. And I stayed off social media for years because I didn't want to play that game. But then I got on social media because I had to promote myself because I had a service to provide that nobody knew about. And it makes a big difference in social media if people like what you post. It makes a bigger difference if they comment on what you post. It even helps if they don't like what you post and they say so. What you want is people talking about you. You want the people in your group to say, "Yeah, they're great." You want the people in the group that's not you to say, "Yeah, I hate this guy." Because it signals your group, "Oh, okay. We had a yeah, well, I'm sure you can all think of examples in your life, in your church, even in your family, where you start to see this at play. And Godin had pointed out learning this lesson from a book on improv. And and the guy that wrote the book on improv said, when he's directing it was theater in general, when he's directing any show, it's going to be boring unless he can convince the characters that they need to consider their positioning on stage with the other characters, their status. Where are they in status to these other characters? And then play that. It's a fact of life. It's also a fact of sin, but it's a fact of life. And it is the driving factor in promotion. If you don't want it to be the driving factor in promotion, it's still the driving factor in promotion. Does that mean that God can't promote a book? Uh, no, it doesn't mean it. He can decide to promote your book. I don't know how to get him to do that besides praying, and I know you all pray that people will buy your books. But when you see him elevate a book, all these status factors are going to be at play. I work for the person that as a writer, I work freelance for the person that promoted maybe the all-time Christian bestseller besides the Bible, Purpose Driven Life. And I've heard him talk many times about the way that book caught on. And they're constantly trying to use similar campaigns to get the same effect that they got from the campaign that they used to get gazillions of churches to buy to buy that book.